It's hard to find the deal where they don't want to own the characters, or because also I own all these characters, and I remember like once they offered me $1 million for MC Supersized, and you're thinking, oh yeah, no, and then you think, okay, the day I realized I made $1 million off MC is like, you're going to be so happy because then I know I made the right move and didn't sacrifice my character,
Yeah. Do you know when your art's done? I know some artists where it's like if they finish the art and if it's still in the studio, they'll walk back to it and start changing it.
It's done when the check clears.
Hey, this is Oren, the Art Concierge. I'm joined with Ron English today. Ron, could you let everyone know a bit about yourself?
My name is Ron English, obviously. I'm an artist and a musician and toy producer and anything else I can get my hands into.
Great. What was your first introduction to the art world?
Well, I always was into art, but the official art world I didn't learn about until I left my hometown and went down to Texas, and I was on a bus, and there was a cute woman across the aisle from me, and she was, going to go to New York and become a groupie of this guy, Andy Warhol. And I'm like, wow, I've never heard of his band. And she goes, oh no, he's an artist. And I'm like, I'm an artist. Anyway, so I think that was the first indication I knew that there was some art world in New York.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And
I
then,
grew up in a very small town, very isolated. So
what town was that?
Decatur, Illinois.
Was there any art in there? Or were you introduced to art in any fashion or anybody in your family in art?
I knew about the stuff going on in San Francisco with the underground comics because we did have an underground comic book store. Very little knowledge of the New York art world or contemporary art. That wasn't really, but more mainstream stuff. Mike Plug, like was my favorite illustrator for Marvel but yeah, I didn't really understand the New York art world. Yeah.
Gotcha. So you went down to Texas. You went to school there, right? In Texas?
Yeah.
Is that why you ended up there?
I went to Texas. It was a lot of people migrated south in the late 70s for work because the kind of work dried up there in the Midwest for a little bit. And so I was working down there, like sheetrocking the projects and stuff. And I had no intention of going to college or anything. But yeah, one day I came in and I just, drew all over all the walls. And then everybody came in and sawed the walls all off and took them home. But then they had a talk with me. They said, you have to be an artist. And I was like, well, how do I do that? And they're like, we have no fucking idea, but you have to do this. And so I kind of took that to heart and went to junior college. And then I went to college and then I went to New York where you're supposed to be,
Where'd you go to college?
I went to UT Austin and UT Denton.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
So
then art programs?
I went to graduate school too. Yeah. So
As for art programs.
art. Yeah.
And then did you stay in Texas for a bit?
No.
No?
The second I graduated graduate school, like that same day, I hauled ass to New York.
Oh, you knew you were going to go.
Yeah, by the halfway through graduate school, I was already becoming very frustrated with being stuck in Texas, and I didn't know whether just to quit school and go to New York, or I thought maybe it'd be better if I finished my degree if I had to end up teaching or something. But boy, I couldn't wait to put Texas in the rearview mirror. But and also I had second degree felonies there and stuff for doing billboards, and it's very conservative there, and I'd already made myself very known, and yeah, there was a lot of resentment from the authorities, and I had to get out.
So when you started doing the billboards, which I know was a big part of your beginning career, what made you start wanting to do billboards? And did you initially start it with like your thought about consumerism, or what? How did you start doing billboards and why? Or what was the message you're trying to get across? Or you just like really just vandalizing at first?
I never thought of it as vandalizing.
Sorry about that.
Yeah. No, but I think probably for the same reason the kids in New York were doing the subways. They knew the subways, you could paint on the subways, and then they would distribute the art around the city, and their friends would see it. And I'm stuck in a traffic jam, and I'm looking like I can see literally from where I'm sitting in Central, I can see 70 billboards. And I thought, wouldn't that be cool if they had my art all over them? And then things kind of conspired to make that work, because at that time, the reason I was commuting to Dallas, I lived in Denton, I would commute to Dallas and work at Messina Brothers photography studio, and the guy had a one blank wall that was the exact size of a billboard. It was 11 and a half by 22 and a half feet. I don't know why they had that wall. Now, maybe they shot on it sometimes. And they also had a thing called seamless backdrop paper that they threw away. Every day we'd roll it out, shoot models, then roll it up and throw it in the dumpster, different colors. And then I said, well, maybe I could use that and, paste it over the billboards. And he goes, yeah, you can have it. We throw out tons every week. You can have it all, but we don't need it. And then I did some, but just with charcoal, and I put them up along the route to Messina Brothers Photography, and they were super intrigued. They thought that was really funny. And then he goes, I got hundreds of gallons of paint from because we were doing a catalog for a paint company. And so, okay, now I got hundreds of gallons of paint. And then my uncle called me up and because I just got a warehouse and it's got like fucking hundreds of gallons of glue. And so suddenly everybody's just like giving me supplies. And,
Yeah.
yeah.
Meant to be.
And we started going all over Texas, hitting billboards everywhere you looked,
Where did it transition from like the art you were putting up that was yours to you trying to send a message more?
I started doing that before I went to college and then into college. And when I went to graduate school, I lived in a house called the House of Commons,
Mm-hmm.
and they were all nudist,
Oh,
political activist.
okay.
I should have left the nudist out. They didn't.
Yeah,
matter. And and they had a sign that says social responsibility over the stairwell. And I got in because my sister lived there. I was like just a crazy vandalizing billboards, drinking beer kind of kid. And they were all like super smart political activists, like with Earth First and stuff like that, and doing real stuff. I barely got voted in. You had to get voted into the house. I barely got voted in. And so most of them probably didn't even want me there. They just thought, yeah, we've never seen anybody drink as much as you. and also I was completely politically clueless, just a fun loving guy. And then I literally had to say, what is social responsibility? this sign we have over our stairwell. And they sat me down and they started teaching me about politics. And they said, you have access to the public that we don't have. Everybody knows you. Everybody, or at least they know your art. You have direct access to the public. Wouldn't it be great if you did something besides do crazy art? Because sometimes maybe just paint the billboard so it looks like you can see through it. So I mean, it was fun stuff, but it wasn't. It didn't say anything about anything really.
When you said people knew you but knew your stuff, not you, does that mean did you have were you like anonymous for a little bit or no?
Yeah, my name was. I called the movement Vandal Art. And I actually recruited tons of people into it. And then I, actually started robbing warehouses full of paint so could I supply everybody. So we had our own thing.
Crew.
My billboards would get on the news all the time. It's an easy thing for the news. But no, my name then was Randall Hart because our movement was called Vandal Art. And it sounded like
Sounds somewhere
like that. And and I kept the anonymous for a few years until one day the press called my house and said, we'd like to speak to Randall Hart. And I'm thinking, what? And I said, oh, yeah. Oh, fuck. Oh, he just died last week. And they're like, oh, we're so sorry. Oh, my God. Oh, he was so fun. It's like, yeah, I know. We're all really broken up here. And I thought, damn, okay. And then after that, I just said, fuck it. They're going to figure out who you are eventually,
Gotcha.
I mean, I guess they never really figured out who Banksy was. So, but, I don't know. And it's funny because my counterpart, or the person I considered my counterpart, his name was Jack Napier, and that's not his real name.
No.
But he was also a guy that was in the Midwest, got in a bunch of trouble, and he headed to the West Coast and started the Billboard Liberation Front. So for years and years, we were doing billboards on like the Texas and New York, and he's out in San Francisco doing billboards, and we didn't know about each other because there was no internet or there was no way. And then we started seeing each other in these underground magazines, and then later we became friends. And he stayed anonymous for 40 years.
For how many?
About 40 years.
How do you do that?
He would do public things, but he would wear a mask. And even when I would go do billboards with him, I knew who he was, but I didn't know who the other people were. And sometimes because they would always wear masks even when we were doing the billboards. But, you'd kind of you'd go to a club and then the guy working the door is like, oh, fuck, I recognize your voice.
Yeah.
But I mean, it was a wonderful thing for them because sometimes we would get in a bunch of trouble and they would come after me, but they wouldn't come after him because it's Jack Napier is the name of the Joker in Batman. Yeah. So he finally outed his self about 4 years ago, and I think because he stayed anonymous, and I think because Banksy came up later, that he'd lost the world's attention. So when he finally did out himself, nobody cared. So he was like, "Fuck, nobody cared."
Sounds like an interesting guy.
Yeah. Oh yeah. He started Burning Man.
Oh wow.
His real name is John Law. So he did the first Burning Man on the beach, and I think he had broken up with his girlfriend, and somehow the big he built a big man and set it on fire, and somehow that was some kind of it meant something to him.
Uh,
And then they took it to the desert the next year, and then I think Harvey, his partner, later took it over, and John pulled out because he thought it was becoming commercialized, or he was a real rebel to the end. Yeah,
yeah, interesting guy, Jack.
and it's interesting because he was like my counterpart and it was
You guys worked on a lot of projects together.
yeah, we loved working on stuff together.
What's the largest billboard you've ever repurposed? I guess let's call it
We
size
did we
wise.
did an interesting one in San Francisco, and that's one of the times where I got caught and he didn't, but because they knew my name. But we came in the night before and then climbed on the billboard and rewired the whole billboard, so we had like plugs on the billboard. And the next day we came in with it was a McDonald's, a fake McDonald's billboard, but like it's an alien. It's kind of like the To Serve Man from the Twilight Zone. So there's a fat alien and a fat my character MC, and then we put Ronald, and he's like shoving hamburgers into this little kid's mouth. You know, but they're robotics, so we had to build all the robots. That's why we came in the
Oh,
night
is it
before.
moving?
Yeah, that's why
Oh, wow.
we came in the night before and wired the whole thing, and it was kind of weird because we had 50 people dressed up like Ronald McDonald or crazy Ronald McDonald's, and they were hiding across the street this is in San Francisco. They're hiding across the street in a park in the bushes, so that they were told that if the police or anybody come, you swarm it. And then sure enough, right when we finished, we got out of the van, we pulled out one side of the parking lot, the police are pulling in the other side. We just escaped like that. We were around the corner. We put clown makeup on, our clown suits, and we came with a surge. So suddenly, like, there's 50 or 70 like clowns jumping around. The police can't figure out who to arrest. that was he's fun to work with, and he also they do a lot of security people, and they try really hard not to get arrested. You know, I've been arrested 30 times. He's been arrested 0 times.
Oh, he's good.
He's good.
You said he's a joker.
But he says, you know, for every billboard he did, I did 100. So that, you know, I pushed the odds a little harder.
There you go.
He was also, well, he was part of survival research. He was part of the starting the Burning Man, but also he was a founding member of the Cacophony Society. And so they did huge pranks. So like they came to New York, and we dressed up 200 people to look like Santa Claus, but, you know, drag Santa Claus, and, you know, very expressive Santa Clauses. And it's an old situationist kind of concept where you just go into a city, you know, and without a concept and just see what happens. So you're rampaging through the city with 200 Santas. So it was easy for him to call up the Cacophony Society and say, and my wife made about 30 of the costumes herself. And then a lot of people made their own costumes. And
What's like their most favorite billboard, or one that you felt maybe made the most impact on people, or you think your message got across the best? Because I know you do a lot. When you create these billboards, it's to really send a message. So which one do you think got across the most to people?
Different ones kind of came out like when in the first Gulf War, I did the New World Order with Guernica, but I put it on Houston and Broadway, so it's very prominent.
Yeah.
And also because New York was the center of the media universe. So that meant that people from Japan were saying, I just saw it in a magazine in Japan. People in Iran were saying, I saw it in our paper in Iran, because all the media was there. So that one hit really big. My favorite was kind of Think Different. Do you remember that campaign? So it's like they had Einstein and different people that said Think Different. So I said, well, what about Charles Manson? He really thought different. So I did Charles Manson said Think Different on 14th Street. And I thought that was really funny because there was a huge debate as to whether that they had actually done that or not. So I thought that's a sweet spot to be, where they're not. It's did they do that? I don't know.
So yeah, a lot of your billboards, like you just said, you kind of kept it pretty close to what's called their brand book. So kind of people, when they saw it, they're like, oh, it must be an ad.
Yeah.
They don't question it. This way it would actually last longer. And I know also you were smart enough that when you did stuff, a lot of times during the day, because no one's going to question someone working during the day. At night, obviously, it's a little weird. So this is how you like got a lot of billboards done. Doing that and dealing with these big companies, have you ever had them like kind of like, hey, come after you a little bit, or like, hey, don't do that? Legally or anyway?
I always wondered, you know, what they thought. I wasn't really going to talk to them.
Yeah.
But I did. I was actually out with a Shepherd Ferry, and we did a bunch of billboards around LA one night, and then I went on a morning talk show the next day because you know, and I was openly talking about, drive by here, drive by there. And actually, my manager called, like, you know, when they went to commercial, and goes, "Shut the fuck up! What are you doing?" And like, nobody cares, man. She goes, "They care," you know. But the weird part was the owner of the billboard company was in the same building. He was 2 floors down in a meeting. They ran into the meeting and go, the son of a bitch is 2 floors up on the fucking radio bragging about doing your billboards. And so he came up. Now, I didn't know that's who he was. So a lot of time I'll go on a radio show and then people get kind of excited. Maybe you could do a billboard for us, or they think it's fun. And so like the staff and everything comes out and they're real excited. And so it felt like that, but then it felt a little off. And there was one guy that was really trying to talk to me, and I stupidly gave him my card because I still hadn't realized. And then I realized, oh shit, you own the billboard company. And so finally I said, why don't you, what? He goes, we've been looking for you for 7 years. And it's like, really? Because I'm in the phone book, you know. But at that point I wasn't Randall Hart anymore. I was Ron English. And it's like, well, you must not have been looking real hard.
Yeah.
And I said, what's the real deal? And he goes, well, we don't want to arrest you because we think you'll get a lot of good press because you do know things. You know that a lot of our billboards, a huge number of our billboards are illegal. We don't have licenses for them. Nobody knows.
Really?
You've pointed that out in the press. We don't want to give you a megaphone to amplify that. We know we're selling cigarettes to kids and that you're criticizing that with your billboards, and we don't want to amplify that. And then we also don't want to breed a bunch of other people doing it through giving you more publicity. So that's the deal. And then he offered me free billboards.
Oh,
I said,
wow.
but you'll control what I say. And he goes, yes, sir. And I'm like, no, sir. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, but he never did arrest me. So
But what about the brands like Coca-Cola or McDonald's? Like when you've kind of made billboards for them and, you know, trying to push your message across, which is obviously like not, let's just call it, make it simple, not healthy for you, I guess.
yeah. Or
They didn't really ever
nah,
send an email or a letter in the mail. Hey,
yeah, not really. I mean, I think one of them, no, I don't think so. No.
well, that's pretty impressive.
It's but there's nothing they can really do.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, up to this point, on the date that we're recording this, it's still there's still free speech, and it's still parodies a very sacred form of
Right.
free speech, and you're allowed to make fun of these brands. That may change by the time you hear this. I don't
Yeah.
know, but no, and I don't. I think people know Coca-Cola sugar water, and
Yeah,
you know,
they should by now, I think.
yeah.
So,
But I thought it was funny because they're only going to tell one side of the story, and there's nobody to tell the other side of the story. So I thought it would be interesting to have somebody, you know, in a small way, tell like the other side of the story in the same space where they tell the story.
when we sit in this room, there's a lot of characters in here that you've created all of them. Have you ever used these characters in the billboards? Or how did some of these characters come, or who was the first character you created, and how did the evolution of all these different characters come about?
Well, Ronnie Rabbit's my original character, and he represents me. But I think right behind you is Kathy Cowgirl. So she was actually created for an anti-ad campaign
For
when they were putting bovine growth hormone into the milk
Okay.
and stuff. And so one of my friends was a political activist, and she goes, "What would you do something about that?" You know, and I thought, well, you know, maybe the way how we should approach this is if we're saying that's a great thing, and you know, and it's good. I don't know, like promote it like it's a good thing
right,
that the stuff's in there, and that you need a spokesperson, and so she'll be the spokesperson, and she'll have the udder breast, and so sometimes just you know, act like it's good that children smoke, or you know, smoking makes you smarter, or whatever. You know, sometimes like taking it too far the other way kind of engages people in a different way
right.
than just saying this is bad. You know, it makes them have to think. You know.
What's your process for creating characters that you're finding a cause, and then you're kind of then going back to the drawing board, or is it like you're creating a character and then sticking to a cause?
I think the smartest thing I ever did was create this world Delusionville, and then I was able to give them all their own religions and their own politics. And as I created the characters, then you had to they had to make sense, and they all had to represent vaguely something in our world. I was super serious about not making them a direct relation to anybody, so I could talk about racism without somebody thinking you're calling me a racist, or I could talk about religion without somebody thinking that's my religion. Because people are always like, I used to reverse shoplift stuff. That was another thing I did, and make fake products and put them in stores.
Oh wow,
And then sometimes I would do it like for a charity. So like we'd do like one on the town square, and then you give people come buy fake products, but they bring real products to pay for the fake products, and then you take it to the women's shelter. So you partner with some local people to do this. So it's less of a covert kind of thing. But no matter where you did it, if you did it in LA, they're like, we love that you make fun of everything, except don't make fun of fame. If you're down the South, we love you, make fun of everything, but let's not make fun of Jesus here. So everybody had their sacred cow. So which is
That makes sense. So you're saying like you created this delusionville so you could speak upon this stuff without
right,
upsetting people because
right.
whatever bubble you're in, that's your secret bubble. So you're going to get offended. But
And,
this creates it where
yeah.
there's no direct attachment. So it's kind of like opening everyone's eye.
Yeah, and everybody
All
has
that.
has a sacred cow and they don't realize it, you know.
Yeah.
So like if you're in the art world, Rothko's a deity. You know, it's a religion. And some people will confess, yeah, it is kind of a religion, but you know, everybody has their sacred cows. My old neighbor in my old studio was like from the generation before me, and if I made fun of like Stella, he would want to take me out and beat the fucking shit out of me.
Wow.
So it's like this is
Passion.
just some other artist, you know, but it these artists meant everything to them, and that was they had built their kind of religion on that,
Yeah.
or whatever it is. They became sacred to them, and so there were things you couldn't talk to them about because they were too invested in their tribe.
Yeah.
And I thought, what if these are just it's like some other planet? So they have their own stuff, and it ain't us, you know. And it makes things easier to talk about, and big ideas easier to talk about.
For sure.
And you know, my purpose in life isn't to really make people feel bad, or it's just to make people think, you know.
Well, I think when you open up a conversation, people get along better.
Yeah.
You know, I think people are scared to have conversation. So they put up whatever it is instead of listening. Because once you listen, most people aren't that far apart because unless you're a bad person, we all want the same stuff, really.
Yeah, yeah.
Right?
I think there's probably, except for some sociopaths,
Well, yeah.
most people, no matter what they're doing, they think they're doing the right thing. They think they're on the right side.
That
They
makes
believe what
sense.
they're doing is the right thing to do. You know, maybe some rules have to be broken, but maybe they were bad rules. Or, I mean, obviously, I've broken a lot of rules to do what I do. And maybe somebody else thinks, well, you got to throw a little toxins in the water if you want a car, you know, or
Right.
you don't have to walk. You want shoes on your feet. Come on, you know. So there has to be some compromise to get this other thing. And then so, but no, most people think they're a good person.
Yeah, it makes sense. I would too. That's how you brought up. I have a question, a little outside the art world. You just said you've broken rules before. You said you've been arrested 30 times or 30 felonies. You have
no, three felonies.
Oh, three
Yeah,
felonies.
yeah.
Sorry. You have two kids,
Yeah.
and you're an artist raising them, and they, I assume, at some point knew you probably maybe been arrested or breaking the rules. Was there ever like, Dad, you break rules, we break rules, or did you raise them a certain way, saying it's okay to do certain things or bend things a little bit?
I tried to get them to be a little bit more of rule breakers, but
Oh yeah,
they probably did. They probably didn't tell me, but they seemed
Gotcha.
pretty straight around me. You know?
yeah. But you kind of like pushed it a little bit, not do anything horrible, but like it's okay to.
I don't know. Like sometimes like I remember like I'll go talk to youth groups and stuff like from, you know, like disparaged neighborhoods, and it's like I probably shouldn't be talking to youth groups because you know, I'm like, dude, you're not going to make it. You're not going to make it. There's no way to make it. People from poverty do not make it.
Yeah,
I mean, very rarely, and boy, that we make a big deal out of it when they do. But the odds are against you, so you're gonna probably have to cheat a little bit to make it. It's like,
Yeah.
and then they kind of pull you off the. I don't know. I went to film school and told them like to quit film school and take whatever money they're going to spend on film school and go make a movie. And they
Yeah.
pulled me off stage. And it's just like, yeah, I'm not good to put in front of your kids, man.
nah, you're too honest.
But my kids turned out great, you know, and we thought they would, but it was a chance, and they were, you know, they were exposed to a lot, and a lot that, you know, other people hid, you know, hid their children's eyes from
Yeah.
them. And I just thought maybe they'll understand the world better. And, you know, I
Yeah.
did make them famous, which was kind of
That's cool.
interesting. Like me and Mars would go to Comic-Con and everybody had a tattoo of them because I used them in my art for years.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
And so like people would, you know, tattoo them on their arms. Like even Chris Brown had, you know, a tattoo of Mars.
I want to touch upon, you said it's really hard to make it out of poverty. As an artist, I think anybody that tries art, it's really hard to become a career artist actually and make a living out of it. So you've been doing this for many decades. I'm not going to say how many, but many decades.
Yeah, yeah.
Was there any point where you're like, there's no way this decade it's going to happen, I'm done, I quit? Or has it always been just uphill, doing great, you know? How do you get through those times if there's been times like that?
Oh, I never thought I would get anywhere. When I imagined myself to be Henry Darger, he was kind of a crazy person. He worked as a janitor or something like that up in Chicago, and he secretly made art in his apartment and talked to himself a lot. And he was actually crazy, but no, I mean, it's. I thought I'd be washing dishes and just making art. Nobody would give a fuck, you know. So anytime I get any kind of attention or money, I'm delighted, you know.
So when did that change? Like, what was it, a certain piece or a certain person you met or an article that came out that were like, wow, okay, I could see this being something that could sustain me financially and also my
Yeah.
love to do now?
I still don't feel that way.
No?
Although I'm probably about 4 years away from retirement, so hopefully I'll feel it then.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. No, I don't know.
Well, you don't feel the way, but obviously you've been able to make it like this. Like you don't have a
But
separate job
it
from an
doesn't
artist,
seem
dude.
real. It still seems like I'll probably have to start driving a truck again next week. you know, God
It's
help people. I don't see that well now, so you don't want me driving a truck. But I don't know. I don't know. I guess it happened. It's almost over now. So yeah,
okay.
there it is. Yeah, I didn't think I'd be touring China, and I didn't think that. And God, we get like tremendous crowds, and I never expect anything like that. It, wa- I didn't fantasize that. It was like, wow, this is cool.
Well, I think what you're doing maybe is what a lot of people tell you to do. And it's like cliche. It's like do what you love or do what you feel like you need to do, and it will happen. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Whether it happens that day or 5 years or 10 years, it's gonna happen at some point
yeah.
as long as you're consistent at it.
Yeah, yeah, and I tell young artists just do your thing, and I always like I cite where I got that concept from, and usually they cringe when they hear because that
Whereas,
person was Ted Nugent. And so like when I was 16, I met him. I stood behind where he played and waited till he came out, and
mhm.
and then I talked to him and I asked him advice. I was like, I don't know, because again, I'm in this small town, I don't know anything, and I said I want to be an artist, I don't know how to do it, and yeah, you just do what you do till they like it. But that kind of thought I understand what he's saying. It's like because I've seen so many people destroy themselves by imitating what they think. Oh, we're all going to be Basquiat now. Yeah, but he wasn't imitating anybody. I mean, well, yeah, Picasso a little, but I'm saying you're not going to be him, and if you don't even if you enjoy making that kind of art, well, fine, but why don't you be you? And then, well, it's not going to work as fast, but it'll work longer. Then you won't feel like this isn't really me, and now I'm stuck because you do get known for something, and you do get a demand, and then now you have kids and a family, and you have to bring home the bacon. This is what people want from you, and you kind of get stuck doing it. And if you're stuck doing something you're enthralled with, God bless,
Yeah,
because it's going to work out. If you stay with it, it will work out. But
yeah.
have it work out your way.
Would you say because you were saying you're surprised that you're still doing it now? Is there like a team you have or a manager or anything along the way you've kind of like built people that kind of help you so you could do what you want, do the parts you enjoy, and
Mm.
maybe give those other parts maybe you don't enjoy, or how do you, or are you just a one man band?
Different people help me.
Yeah.
Right now, I have one guy that comes in only now for 2 days a week and helps me with all the digital stuff that I don't know how to do. Obviously, when I make the music, I have a lot of talent and musicians that come help me with that. And sometimes I use producers, like when I go on the road, promoters. My wife works as the manager, tries to keep it all together.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, now now that we're doing more animation, I have a couple people that animate for me, and so yeah, different people. And usually I have one main assistant, and usually they last about 4 years, and they become famous
Oh wow.
because they learn the ropes. It's like an apprenticeship, you
Yeah.
know.
Are they artists usually? These?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Usually I have one main assistant that's an artist, and they figure it out because you also come on the road with me a lot. You meet everybody, and it's very like old school,
Yeah.
you know.
That's cool. Hands on. Have your kids ever been like your assistant, or do they work in the
Oh
company
yeah,
at all?
yeah, yeah. They help. And during the pandemic, my daughter, who's a designer, did a couple books for us and did trading cards for us, and so I kind of task her with, we're all stuck here, and I want you to create things that generate money. And it doesn't have to be a lot of money, but things that help people understand Delusionville and the characters. So give me vehicles. So she came up with like a high school yearbook that shows them all, and it says funny things about them, and so that was the perfect thing because then now the commodity is the book, but the book tells you the story of all the characters. Now I know the characters better because
Yeah.
remember I'm promoting characters, and I'm not Disney, and I haven't spent $1 billion promoting these characters, so I need people to understand them
Who they are?
better.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I need vehicles where we can generate a little bit of money, but also help people understand the characters. And then my son helped me with the NFT stuff.
Oh, okay. The young one. There you go.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. He's super smart with that stuff, and also, um, yeah, they're both they're not scammers. So like a lot of the NFT thing was a bit of a
Oh.
scam. So the way he put like he did a thing called the Light Cult Crypto Club, and so like 20,000 PFPs they call them, the
Mhm.
personal profile picture. But then he lets everybody every month burn it for a toy or releases a new print and stuff. So his idea is like, these are your fans, and you do not fuck your fans.
Oh,
And we're
yeah.
not here to scam people. And I'm like, why not? And he goes, because that's not the way we were raised, Dad. It's like, oh, right. Fuck. But no, but it was great. You always should have young people because they're, we know that Michael Jordan isn't Michael Jordan anymore, or, what I mean? He can't do the athletic
Right.
things, but also your brain is, let's not call it a muscle because it's not a muscle, but it doesn't function as well as it did when you were 20. And there's nothing like brand new brains,
Mhm.
they're so smart, and maybe they haven't seen the world yet. Maybe they haven't had all the experiences you have, but man, they can think.
Yeah. You've done so many mediums. Do you have a favorite medium? Like you have toys, you have canvas, sculptures, everything, billboards. Is there one you prefer?
I like doing the music and then doing the video for the music because that pulls the whole thing together for me.
Is it like a music video with you in it, or is it a video based
No,
on
no,
your characters?
it's all no, it's all like my dioramas and animation, and we did a rock opera about Andy Warhol in the factory, and so I used some real people in the videos for that, but mostly my characters.
So a lot of people might not know, but they know you do art and you do canvas art, you paint. But I don't think as many know that as your collectors of your toys because it's a lot
Yeah.
more mass and it's obviously a different price point.
Right.
But you're so technical. Like I've
Right.
seen your art up close and it's like detail after detail.
Yeah.
Did you fine tune that? Were you just born with it, or how?
It's hard. It's very difficult, and like I'm working on one now, and I just think of it as like this monster, and I go try to tame this monster every day, and I fight this monster every day, and this one will probably take me about 4 to 5 months. And the weird part is it'll probably become a very famous painting, but I'll probably never see it again in person. But I'll think I sat in front of this famous painting, but it wasn't that painting until the very last day.
Mm,
So I really only sat in front of the finished product for maybe
One.
10 minutes, and then it's gone. And it's an interesting process though, but I really enjoy it, and I'm glad that I make my own paintings because like sometimes when you're working on a part, you change parts.
Mhm.
Maybe even you have a lot of studies for it, but you see things happening and you can go with it. Where if somebody would just you made it on Photoshop and they just painted it, then
Yeah.
it would lose some of that magic.
Do you know when your art's done? I know some artists where it's like if they finish the art and if it's still in the studio, they'll walk back to it and start changing it.
It's done when the check clears.
There you go.
When it's not yours anymore, and you legally cannot touch it anymore.
So
But
touch
other
it
than
till
that,
then.
yeah, you're exactly right. Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
How long does it take you to do like a solo show when you're doing like a body of work? Then if this piece takes 4 months, is it? Or how do you plan that out usually?
For a long time, I did 3 a year, but I
Three-
was
three-
working
so-
15 or 16 hours a day every day of the week, and
Wow.
so now it's really slowed down. So I may at this point may only have about 4 or 5 solo shows left in me.
You said before you made your son famous. What was I assume it was a painting. Was it a painting of him, or what did you do, or how to become famous in your art?
When they were first born, like I started painting them, but just I thought I would just like to have some paintings of them, and it took off. My practice for maybe 10 years was all based around my kids and them being Shriners and drinking beers or whatever but the whole body of work for that period was based on the children.
Because I see
Yeah.
that's him on the shirt, right, with
that's
Warhol's
on the
hair, right?
shirt. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, and the shirt and everything. Like,
Yeah. But yeah, it was interesting, and every parent, and it's quite annoying to the rest of us, but they think their kids are the cutest kids that have ever walked the face of the earth. And there's no such thing as an uncute kid, but but I just thought, wow, this what a weird privilege to be able to actually paint them and have that kind of experience with them, and also let them see this is what I do. Your dad's kind of a fun, playful, super old kid, and then that's part of your legacy is that you have every stage of your life up to the point you said don't do this anymore. And I told them if you don't want to do this anymore, then we stop.
yeah,
And they did do that, and it was because of Swindle magazine. Swindle magazine said, "Hey, Roger Gassman said, can we do an article about your kids? We'd like to see their point of view." And I asked them, and they said, "Oh yeah, okay." Well, the article came out, and their friends read it. So
Oh.
now they were self-conscious at school, and Mars had said that he wanted to be a naked dumpster diver, and they're going, "Why?" Well, so I don't get my clothes dirty, And,
logical.
but yeah, they were always very clever kids, but yeah, then after that they said no. But then the weird thing is like, but for the last 10 years, this has been my practice. So I don't, this is what people want from me. So then,
Yeah.
and I tried painting like I painted Lev's kid and different kids, and it didn't work. They just wanted my kids. That's when I made Delusionville.
If you had to choose who that was, who would you consider maybe besides you, like the Godfather of street art?
Wow, that's a hard one. Huh. I might pick Jack Napier because he was he was doing it anonymously, which is kind of supposed to be a big part of street art. And
Yeah.
you're supposed to interact with the environment and in a certain way that not it's not putting your name up or doing a rendering a mural or anything. It's really interacting with the environment in the public. So I would say him. Yeah.
And how did you deal with when, like, I guess, let's say street art started becoming mainstream, or maybe galleries, art worlds, like, hey, this is in front of us now. We want to work with it. When did that start happening? Like, did you start getting calls like
Oh,
from certain people, or
well,
and how do you feel
yeah.
about it?
I moved to New York and I had a hard time getting shows and
What year did you move to New York?
like 86, I believe,
Okay.
85, 86. Yeah. But first people wouldn't look at your slides. I mean, they really wouldn't. They're just like, we'll come back in 5 years, or they'd fuck off, or, there was nobody knew how to get into that art world. I mean,
Yeah.
now I know how it worked, but I didn't understand then. And so everybody just walked around as an outsider. Nobody, and you thought, man, if you could see my paintings, you could sell them. I know
Yeah.
you could. I know you could. But there's no way for them to see them. They're not going to look at them. So what I finally did is just got a big painting, walked around Soho, and then, did you do that? Yes.
Like, are you in
Well,
Billboard?
can I come by your no? So with the
That's
big
what I'm saying.
painting,
You're
yeah.
walking around with a big painting, basically. You in
Yeah,
Billboard for
yeah.
yourself.
And they're like, who painted that? I did. It's like, oh, did you have more? Yes. Can I visit your studio? Yes. Would you do a show? Yes. But it's like they just had to see it. And I had to think of, like, sometimes it's, I don't know. How do you get them to see it if they won't look at your slides? And I thought, well, fuck it. I just walk around with a painting.
Bring it to them. I think everyone's got a different path, and that's really
Yeah.
interesting, because I'm sure a lot of people didn't do that, or they thought maybe that would devalue what they're doing by doing it like that, because art's a very fickle
I don't know.
fickle world, but obviously it works for you. Do you work with some galleries now currently?
Yeah. I'm a Alouche.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah. And some others. But yeah, he's my main New York gallery.
Just in New York, or does he show you other places?
L.A. Yeah.
Is there any like wants that you haven't done yet that you want to kind of fulfill before you retire in 4 years?
Yeah, I need to get a cartoon show on TV.
Okay. Is that something you're actively working on, or it's kind of like you're putting that out in the
I've been
universe
working
right
on
now?
that for a long time. Yeah.
What's a long time? Because I think people need to hear. Sometimes people
20,
think
20 years, maybe. It's hard to find a deal where they don't want to own the characters, or, because also I own all these characters. And I remember, like, once they offered me $1 million for MC Supersized, and you're thinking, oh, yeah. No. And then you think, okay, the day I realized I made $1 million off MC is like, you're going to be so happy, because then I know I made the right move and didn't sacrifice my character,
Yeah, that must be tough with all these characters here to like say no to so many people. I think
Yeah.
that's hard, especially depending on what's going on.
Well, most of them aren't that significant. They're background players.
Right.
So, yeah, like Ella Fonka's really big. She does super well. Ronnie Rabbit, of course. MC Supersize is really big. Temper Tot is really, really big.
Yeah.
Yeah. So some of them are like the famous ones, and the other ones are their support.
You put obviously a lot of satire in your art from like the serial killers and other stuff. What do you have like anything planned for the future with more satirical stuff?
A new part of Delusionville that I'm building is called Area 54, and that's where the government has worked with Orion, the main character that started Delusionville. It's a long story; I can't do the whole story, but now they're working together and they're trying to track aliens. And since he is an alien, he explained to them, if you want aliens to come see you, because they want to reverse engineer their technology, so they're interested in taking apart their spacecrafts.
Yeah.
But how do you get them to come here? And he goes, what the ones that actually transverse the universe are not what you think. They're not scientists. They're not explorers. They're rich party kids. And they're just looking for the best party. So if you made the best party, the aliens would come.
Yeah.
They're monitoring. They know. And so if you have the best drugs, the best party, boom, they'll be here. And so the government built Area 54 to throw these giant parties that would attract aliens from across the universe. So that's the part of Delusionville, that the bigger concept that I'm working on right now.
I guess like from your toys to your art and stuff, it seems like you've collaborated, worked with a lot of people. Is there anyone dead or alive that you would like to or would have liked to? And what would that project look like if you had your choice?
Well, I think like painters I could paint with, like I could probably paint very well with people that are a little more loose and abstract, weirdly, because I could come in and tighten up parts and make parts float. And so I could probably collaborate very well with like somebody like Kenny Scharf or Futura or Obudia, or people that Eric let me think. yeah. Eric Hayes,
Hayes.
maybe. Yeah, like he's kind of got that loose thing that. But yeah, I think that I would not collaborate well with like Mark Ryden or people that were more similar to me.
Yeah, that
You
makes
know,
sense.
there's something has to kind of go between us.
Right.
Like I collaborated a lot with Daniel Johnson, and that stuff worked really really well because I can super Disneyfy stuff and pop it, and then he's super loose and crazy, and we work really well together.
Yeah, complement each
Yeah,
other.
yeah.
That makes sense. Do you have any advice for young artists besides what Ted gave you? Like something
Oh
you
yeah.
let's leave Ted out of this.
Yeah.
Anything you've picked up along the way where it's like you think it'd be useful or kind of give some
Yeah.
some
Well, people have told me weird stuff over the years. In graduate school, one guy says, "Make your studio the most pleasant place for you on planet Earth," because you'll want to go there. So you have to think about like, what's my studio going to be like? Like for me, like for a while, my studio was somewhere else, and I found like, well, I'll work, and then when I come home for dinner, then I don't want to go back. But if my studio's in my house, then after dinner I'll go work more. So I know that if it's in my house, I'll work harder. But maybe for some people it means getting plants or getting their favorite music, or maybe you can't concentrate when you have music, so get something else. But make it somewhere that you can't wait to get to. Then you're going to get the work done.
And that's great advice, especially you make it like almost, I guess, like your happy place, you call it.
It's your happy place.
Yeah, and it inspires you. And I think the one thing I try to tell every artist: never stop creating. Which obviously we can tell you don't at all ever. But I think that's the thing. I think sometimes artists get like a little demoralized if maybe art's not selling or stuff's not happening. But they understand everything is cyclical, and if you keep at it, you have stuff ready. Like we were talking earlier, you said you have toys that you're waiting. That you already have created the files, but you don't have a date to put them out yet.
Right.
They're not even anywhere else, but they're just on your drive right now. But you're ready to go.
We have 50 amazing sculpts sitting there waiting to go. So remember a guy named Picasso? I don't know if you heard of him or not. Yeah.
Finish your statement.
He died with a warehouse full of paintings.
Right. Tens of thousands of paintings.
Yeah.
I think people don't understand that.
Yeah. So maybe if you have a show, like maybe if you go to a Jeff Koons show, he probably didn't sell all those. I mean, maybe 2 sold. And then the others are getting warehouse somewhere, and he's not really broadcasting that. But yeah, and then there'll be a Jeff Koons for the next 600 years.
Yeah.
Like new stuff coming out. I am the same age as Jean-Michel Basquiat and Keith Haring. I'm their contemporaries from that period. It's like they never died. They made enough work that they're still showing stuff and having shows, and they made enough good designs that they're still doing clothing and shoes, and it's like they're still here.
I think that's the biggest thing, and also the hardest thing, I guess, because we're not inspired or something's not going on to keep creating, depending on what inspired you to do art and create. So I think that's a big thing. But making your happy place that makes you want to, because when you're down, if you're in your happy place, it will lift you up, hopefully.
Right. And if you have an idea, put it in a notebook. Like save your ideas, because sometimes you think I don't think I have an idea. No, you get 50 notebooks full of ideas. But what the weird thing about ideas is they just exist in a weird part of your brain for a minute. Even like a song, you think, man, this is one hooky ass song. And then 20 minutes later, you don't remember it.
Yeah.
It's like, what the fuck? That was the hookiest song I ever heard, and now it's gone. So that's why you have to get it down quick, because it exists in a part of your brain that doesn't commit stuff to memory. The magic happens just in this weird space.
I've been to a couple artist studio, and exactly what you said, they literally have notebooks going from like 15, 20 years ago. And it's sometimes, what's funny is a lot of them went from like, it would be like drawings, what they want to do, to just words of what they want to do. And they explain why. And it's like, no, I just want to make sure I get this. He goes, I could create stuff for the next 200 years. Because whenever I'm stuck and I'm still in my studio, I can be like, oh, let me pull this notebook out. I know this was a great idea.
Right.
And they have like 50 of them from like 20, whatever, 15 or 1995. And they just pick one out and they work on it.
Well, like remember the band REM, the vocalist wrote all the lyrics, or 90% of them. And he just kept notebooks. And then like when then they would give him the melodies, or they would give him the bass of the songs. And then he would have, like, oh, I need a good line or something, but he'd already thought of it and he wrote it down. So what was that thing I was thinking about? And then he would like, there it is. And so, yeah, all that stuff came in handy. It was his treasure trove,
Yeah. You have your art in a handful of galleries. You mentioned one of the names. How has that impacted the art you create? Because are you ever just creating what you want, or do they ever make maybe suggestions or help you with the theme?
I understand that. I mean, I don't want to say what the rent on a New York gallery is, but it's fucking insane.
Yeah.
And they have to sell, and you have
It's a
to give them
business.
stuff that the clients want. So most artists won't talk about that, but we're all working together.
Yeah, no,
I'll take you downstairs and I'll show you that. I'm working on a painting for a client. I don't know if he wants me to say his name. I didn't ask him. I should have asked him. He's a super interesting guy. It's Ghost Guernica, and so that's a painting of Guernica where you can see through Guernica and you can see their skeletons. But they're Picasso's things are pretty deformed. So like they're these weird deformed skeletons. You can see through you can see beneath the floor and then like down into the depths of New York. Or it's a very interesting painting, huge. So he wants kind of a sister painting for that. And he goes, I just got a new place in Rome, so I would like the Last Supper. And he said, I wanted to kind of tell the story of what happened to all the apostles. So he kind of gave me some stuff that he wanted to happen in the painting. And then I kind of then once I started the painting, I kind of figured out like, okay, now I have this relationship with this painting. It's going to be daily, and I'm going to figure out stuff day by day. And it's just going to be me in this painting. It's like, you have to let me be the artist now. I'm going to make sure that what you want is in here, but this painting has to, there's going to be one in the whole fucking world.
Yeah. Well, I think sometimes, depending on the collector, some get it, some don't, where they come to an artist and they like the style, but then they try to control it a little bit, like you're saying, or not intentionally, but they're like, could you put this in it? And they don't understand. It's like, no, that's not the vision.
How fun would that be? Here's an interesting thing. I have like 200 songs about me. And originally it was a conceptual thing because Saddam Hussein was the living person with the most songs about him. Now I saw that like on a TV show, and I knew lots of bands, and I thought that's really funny. I bet he held a gun to their head and he made a song. And at that point, I was pretty much homeless. It was not my house, my loft had burned down, and So anyway, so I started asking all the bands to write songs, and so they put out a few albums of songs about Ron English, a couple different record companies, and it was kind of a weird conceptual thing, but it's also kind of like you have to write a song about it, And so I can understand a collector thinking, they want, of course they want something. I want me as a grin, or and they want to have a hand in it. I understand that, but you can't tell Picasso to put the eyes on the right side of the face either. So, it's a back and forth. My greatest idea is like the lady lips, a lot of Star Skull is Slash goes, everything that's ever been done with a skull has been done. What can you do? And I'm like, hold my beer, And Jason Flom with the Rolling Stones has come up with something original with the tongue, something nobody's ever done. And I was kind of struggling with it. I thought, oh my God, it's two women. It's two fucking women. I see it. And I got some models and we made it.
Oh,
so yeah, I don't know. It's working with other people actually stimulates you. And
I think with the right people, you know what I mean? As long as they're open to it.
Yeah.
Which it's just like anybody when you have a conversation, you find out something new that you maybe wouldn't have thought.
Yeah, you kind of go, you bristle, but in the end, it's like writing songs with other people. It's like, no. Oh, wait, that's actually pretty good.
Do you sell a lot of work internationally or more domestically?
Obviously we do really well in China.
Yeah. Well, I'm saying, I know you do well in toy, but how about the fine art?
No, he moves some paintings there.
Oh,
yeah.
Do you think they get what you're doing? Because the stuff you're painting is usually more. It's
they know I'm making fun of America.
They like that.
They like that. I don't know. I think they're very visually stimulating.
Yeah.
They have a presence.
Right.
I don't know. Well, the profile of a lot of the people that, like, I think the guy that I'm painting for now, I think he's a genius. I think he is this fucking super smart dude. I find that a lot of the people that collect the art are scientists, or that they're super smart.
Yeah.
So I like to think that they're connecting that they're getting that there's a lot of shit going on here. And it's not real superficial, or, I'm not painting Hello Kitty for anybody, or, you know what I mean?
Nope. Yeah. Your stuff is very, very detailed,
It's not for everybody. I think you got to have some brain cells to interact with it.
Well, I think it goes back to what we were saying. It's like you got to create what you want to create, and they'll come. They'll find it one way or another.
It's more challenging, but I don't know. Stravinsky wrote The Rite of Spring, and they didn't like it. They rioted, but he knew it was good. And a lot of people came back a year later and thought it was the greatest piece of music ever. But they took them a while to get it.
Yeah.
So if you paint Hello Kitty, they're gonna go, "Oh, it's Hello Kitty. He's cute," or she.
Right.
But if you make something more challenging, then your life's gonna be harder.
Do you find a difference in the international markets when you go there compared to like the U.S. markets, as in like what, like how people perceive you and how you have to deal with stuff over there with them, and even the gallerists and stuff and who you deal with there? Is it like two different worlds, or is it pretty similar to art world in
Well,
Asia
I
and
think in
America?
Asia they think the American artists are, I don't know, they like cause, they like me. There's a handful of people that they seem to be into.
Gravitate to you.
Yeah, and I think a lot of Asians I've noticed, like they're like, I don't want a painting of something. I want something,
Mm,
which is kind of a weird attitude. But it's, I want something that has that is the thing, not the painting of the thing.
right.
So that's a little bit of a different attitude.
Ron, thank you so much for letting us into your humble abode, studio, and house. Really appreciate the time. Is there any last thing you want to, or message you want to send out there?
Well, maybe before we leave, I can actually show you what I'm working on, and you can see something like halfway there, right? Instead of like the way people normally see it all the way
Would
finished.
love to see work in progress.
Okay, yeah.
Thanks.
You got to know all my secrets.